I often tell people, if someone's selling you land and they have a title deed and they show you a mutation form but no RIM, either investigate further or run away. Because you could be paying for thin air, literally. Because this map right here is what demarcates the actual, yes.
Hey, welcome back to my channel, and I hope you're still doing all the right things. Keeping your mask on, mine's here. Of course, social distance and cleaning your hands, even if they're peeling. Vaseline works. So I want to have a conversation that will make you actually lean in, and it's about land and the ongoing land conversion. I'm sure you've heard the term and you're like, what is that? What does it mean? And I only had one person I truly could trust to have this conversation with. Solomon Wangwe, you know him, Goshen. So, own land in Kenya. So why doesn't this say I own land in Kenya? Or do you own too much land?
We're working on this.
Yeah, I think it should say I own land in Kenya. Or want to own land in Kenya, follow me.
True. Yeah, we're working on those.
Okay, so when it comes to owning land, as East Africans, and when I say East Africa, all the way to the Mogadishu coastline, and maybe to the Congo forest, nobody is as passionate, emotive, and gets a little spastic when it comes to land as we are. Okay, why is that?
I think, then this is my theory, because I do spend a little bit of time trying to understand the psychology around the Kenyan land appetite, or the East African appetite for land. I think it really goes back to our colonial history, because this is something I looked at in my own family, and I used to wonder why my mom specifically would buy plots of land here, there, everywhere. And then I realized that they grew up in lands that were not ancestral, because their communities were displaced by the colonial masters. And in Kenya specifically, the Kikuyu, who were displaced from what was called the White Highlands, the most productive zones of Kenya. And so as soon as we got independence, that generation, my parents' generation, were young, working, right? They had some income. The first order of business was to reclaim land, because
and they passed that on to us.
Yeah, so we grew up watching it like, something that they do.
Yes.
And so for us, my generation, it's just second nature. It's what you do when you have a little bit of savings. It's what you do to show that you're ready to settle down.
Yes.
It's sort of like a rite of passage for I'm now an adult.
Yes.
And if I die, I have my own place to get buried.
I had not thought about it like that, because I thought, wait a minute. And I think when I first met you, I told you I need to start buying land like a grown-up, because I had little scattered pieces across Kenya, honestly. From Isinya to Rongai to Kitengela and then I bought Mbuko. And the people who came to see Mbuko, I told you I bought Mbuko unsighted. He met my mother, actually before you met me.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you met my mother before you met me. And she was the person to say yes or no.
Thankfully, she said yes.
Thankfully, she said yes, because if she had said no, I wasn't buying. Because I believe she knows.
Yeah, she definitely knew what to ask, what to look out for. And she, knowing her now, I often tell people who think that you're difficult to deal with, because you're too blunt and you speak your mind. And I tell them, wait till you meet Caroline's mom.
Yes.
So it was a half terrifying experience, but thankfully we passed the test. And she loved the place. And
15 acres later.
Yeah.
Yes. Or incidentally, Mbuko is still available, but only just.
Yeah.
Only just.
Only 10 blocks of 10 acres each.
Yes.
Available.
You can be my neighbor, if that matters. So there's a land conversion thing. What is it?
The title conversion, yeah.
It's a title conversion.
Title, yes.
Okay, what is it?
So, ever since we got independence in Kenya, title deeds have been produced under what they call, in general, land registration acts. So these are acts of parliament describing what processes should be used to produce title deeds, whether it's private lands or public lands or whatever the case may be. And I think since independence to date, we've had 5 different land acts. So the Registration Land Act, there's so many, some acronyms sort of sound like the others. Land Registration Act is the latest one, 2012.
Okay.
When
2012 is latest.
Right. And so that particular act determined that all the previous regimes have created confusion in the titling process, because depending on which property you're buying, the titles read differently. And you have, leasehold versus freehold.
Yes.
You have mutation forms versus, deed plans.
Yes.
And it becomes confusing. And so they thought that for one, it made the registration process too long.
And difficult.
And difficult for people to understand.
Yes.
And then more importantly, in my view, created room for fraud. Because a lot of wishy-washy things happening.
And they always happen in chaos.
Yeah, and so Parliament decided to pass a unified sort of registration act, which said all the previous titles have to be updated to the Land Registration Act for 2012 and a unified regime, so that you have a similar numbering system for all titles throughout the entire country.
Okay.
Right.
So that's what the conversion is.
Yes. So basically what they're saying is everyone needs, it's just like what they did with national IDs or driver's licenses.
And passports.
Right. So they're saying you need to get the new generation title referencing numbers.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so that's what the conversion is.
Yeah.
And we're doing this because everything that has existed, and actually you're right, when you hear the terms, you're like, freehold, you've got to be an expert in this stuff. And if you don't know what it is, you get conned as well.
Very easy, yeah. It's a problem, and the details are critical. As they say, the devil is in the details. And if you don't know what the distinctions are, it's very easy to be taken for a ride. True. And so the primary objective is to bring everything under a unified sort of system, which hastens registration processes. So I think they're saying that they've reduced the time from 72 days to 12 days to register titles.
Really?
Yeah, and then that allows digitization, which will then shrink the process. Their goal is to limit it to 12 hours. So you can have your titles transferred and registered in your favor when you're buying, or you can sell to somebody, yes. 12 hours, done and dusted, which would be awesome.
Which will, and I actually want to say this for anybody saying, psych, it's so strange what we take for granted. And today, if I'm selling you my car, you're selling me yours. Actually, yours is nicer, so you're selling me your car. I get onto NTSA, I input the details, you send me your ID number, we do this thing, I go to M-Pesa, I pay that little bit, done.
Yeah, done.
But you can't even tell our dads that's how we do cars these days.
No,
like, what are you talking about? It is digitized.
I need hard copy papers and affidavits.
And a few trips, either to Times Towers, and then you go to National Bank, you pay something, and you come back with that deposit slip. That doesn't happen anymore.
It's horrible, yeah.
Yes, but literally we're saying where we took that process, where we took the ID process, you meet people who are 20 years old, and they're like, I went to do my Senate, and then I took a picture, then I didn't like the picture, and then they took another one. You're like, have you seen our IDs? We lived with a picture that was taken.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we hoped and prayed that our mother knew somebody at the chief's camp.
To help
These people
out,
get an SMS telling them to come and pick it up.
Yeah.
I mean, but those of us who remember what the mess was can't believe, and I think that's our problem. Half the time we're like, we can do what? In 12 what?
Yeah.
Yes. So actually this title conversion, that's what it is, is good for us. But what does it mean for me? And that's why I asked you to bring title deeds. What does it mean? Yeah,
I mean, that's a good question, because a lot of people, even our previous customers, have called to ask, what's the deal?
Yeah, what does
Am
it
I
mean?
safe?
Yeah.
A lot of people are worried that they might lose their land somehow. There's just a lot of misinformation or lack of understanding about it.
Of course. So that's why we're here.
Yeah. So for people who own land, what it means is at some point between now and December of next year, 2022, the Cabinet Secretary for Lands will issue gazette notices and newspaper ads declaring that a particular region, because we have several registries throughout the country, most of them still operate under the old district system.
Yes.
And this is one of the points for this exercise, is to devolve land registries down to the county level by regions. But part of that includes digitization, having a unified sort of numbering system for easy traceability and whatnot. So what that means is at some point, right now it's Nairobi, I think they start in April, is the date that they expect to start for Nairobi registry.
So you're saying if you've got land in Nairobi, you need to watch out for these gazette notices that Farida Karone's office will be putting out?
Yes. 4 of them have already been issued.
Oh, really? Nairobi, are you listening?
Yeah. So they will issue the old title number, the new title reference, and acreage. To let you know that from this date, which should be in April, you need to start applying for your new title deeds with a new numbering system.
So start with Nairobi, and then
and then they'll launch out to the other regions of Kenya.
Okay, so it's actually phased.
Yes, it's a very heavy, time-consuming process. Digitization, you have to scan documents, you have to reconcile several sort of reference maps, and that's a critical part of this exercise a lot of people haven't understood yet. The cadastral maps, which they speak about in the notices, is you have to make sure...
I'm not going to pretend that I knew what he said if you are.
It's a survey term.
See?
Yeah, it's just the big maps. In our business, we call them registry index maps.
Now that term.
The RIMs, right?
Yes.
So right now, depending on what type of title deed you're dealing with, for example, these were registered in 2020. And it'll say here the Land Registration Act 2012, number 3 of 2012.
Okay.
Right, because this is a recent registration.
This is recent. This is last year.
Yeah, there's others that are older. Some, and usually they'll say repealed, which means this needs to be converted to the new titling.
Even if you got it just last year?
Yeah, because the act was repealed in 2012.
In 2012.
But the actual infrastructure to produce a new numbering system has taken this long.
Wow.
So even though they're still producing them as legal title, they do make a note that it's a repealed act.
It's a repealed act.
Yeah. For this chapter 300.
For chapter 300.
Yeah. So
do you all want to take a break and get a glass of water and come back? And when I saw this, I said, I need some, and I would also like to ask, Madam Karone, are you available? You know me, I'm easy. I want to learn. I don't want to yell at you. Some people just don't let the conversation happen because they're okay. But this is Kajiado.
Yeah, so this is Imbuko in Kajiado.
Yes, of course, yes.
And each page is significant. It'll have very specific details and they mean something. They're not random.
All right.
So, if you flip to page 2, it'll reference, this is a subdivision of plot number, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And in some cases, it'll even give you the registry index map sheet number.
Yes.
Right? So for these types of title deeds, what you generally have, if it's a subdivision of a bigger piece, you have a mutation form.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this is what your surveyors will draw up, submit to the district surveyor. It's approved. They issue land registry numbers, which then become your title deed numbers.
Exactly.
So if you're dealing with freehold land, for instance, agricultural, you have mutation forms.
Yes, you do.
And it'll show you this is your plot.
Yeah.
So for instance, this is...
I think for Imbuko, mine are sitting somewhere here.
Yes, yours are up here.
Yes.
This is 8203.
Yes.
Which would be
this is 8200,
8203,
201, 204, here's 203.
Yeah. So it'll show you 8203 and the surrounding ones that was subdivided at the same time from the same mother parcel.
Oh, yes, from the same.
Right.
Yeah.
The same original block of land.
Yes.
So it wouldn't tell you what's on the side, on top, and at the bottom. It wouldn't show you what's around it. Now, that information is contained in the registry index maps, which is what this big thing is, right?
That's why we have the potted plant here. Whoa, all right.
Right, so the registry index map will contain all the neighboring context. Now, the reason that's important is because the new title regime is doing away with mutation forms or deed plans. So for agricultural
I heard
land,
people gasp because remember that's all we asked for. Mutation, you call
yeah,
it.
mutation. I often tell people if someone's selling you land and they have a title deed and they show you a mutation form but no RIM, either investigate further or run away, because you could be paying for thin air, literally. Because this map right here is what demarcates the actual, yes, all the land within the sovereign territory of Kenya is mapped.
Yes, it is.
And this is a piece of that territory. And this is what sits at the survey headquarters
office, yes.
and offices. So if your property is not referenced here, it may very well not exist at all.
Take a break and come back. Call all your friends, tell them, get in here. Solomon Wangwe has just burst this thing wide open. And apparently it was always information we should have known. But do you see what happened? I realized there's a conversation going on, but we need to understand why. And the why makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
I need a minute. Thank you.
Well,
Bye, Mbuko. At least you know he knows what he's doing. Yes.